Puccini to Pop by the Tulsa Opera is this Saturday up in Tulsa. And these two gentlemen next to me were nice enough to drive down to Oklahoma City, and they tell me it's their first trip to Oklahoma City ever, just to tell us about this weekend's opera. And gentlemen, thank you so much for that effort. I'll just dial you in right fast. Tobias Picker and Greg Weber. Gentlemen, very nice to meet you. And what I was stumbling there was, this morning when I got to work, went right next door, grabbed a coffee, didn't realize you guys were right there grabbing a coffee as well. So anyway, welcome to Oklahoma City.
Thank you.
Puccini to Pop is by the Tulsa Opera, and there's one name that jumps out at me, and it's Leona Mitchell from Oklahoma, right? Mm-hmm. I remember when I was at OCU 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and we just opened up a music hall there, and we had a digital audio tape deck, which back in the day was kind of fancy. And Leona Mitchell was going to perform in a couple days, and they were scrambling, hey, Dave, we need to get this tape deck. And we got it up and running, and she's fantastic. She has some pipes. So Leona Mitchell is among those this Saturday.
She is.
Yeah, the connection with Leona Mitchell, it was actually Tobias that contacted me and said, do you realize that the Metropolitan Opera star, she was the Metropolitan diva for 18 years, is only right up the street from Tulsa? And I had said, well, who are you talking about? He said, Leona Mitchell is right up the street. We have to work with her. And actually, Tobias had worked with her. How long ago was that?
I'm a composer, so I had worked with Leona in 1986. She recorded the last movement of my second symphony with the Houston Symphony for None Such Records. And we worked together in the session, and I hadn't seen her in 30 years.
Wow.
And someone on our board mentioned that she lives in Enid, and I contacted her right away, and she came to our opening night of the Pearl Fishers in October as my guest, and that was the first time we'd seen each other in 30 years. But the closeness was still there.
Good chance to reconnect, right?
Yeah, so she's gotten very involved with the company. She's done a master class for our young artists, and now she's reappearing on the stage of the Tulsa Performing Arts Center for the first time in 30 years. She hasn't sung opera on the stage there since the 80s.
Very nice. I assume you guys may have had some sound checks this week in advance of this weekend. How's that going?
Great.
Oh, last night the singers were with the orchestra and with the jazz trio, because this particular production is not just opera. It also has a jazz trio in it, so you have jazz and nightclub songs as well as musical theater. And every one of the singers, even Leona, just about blew the top off the house. It's really, we've not smiled so much in one night.
I feel like this is coming together.
Well, Leona's known as a great opera star, but what isn't generally known is that she's a great jazz singer too.
Really?
So she'll be doing jazz and opera. She'll be singing Summertime, and she'll with the jazz trio, and Visitarte from Tosca. And so we're thrilled to have her.
Let me reintroduce these guys real fast. Tobias Picker with the Tulsa Opera is the artistic director. Greg Weber is the general director. This show, again, is Saturday night, 8 p.m. at the Tulsa Performing Arts Center. You can find tickets and more information at tulsaopera.com. Greg, how did this evening come together?
Well, when Tobias and we've been working together at Tulsa Opera for about a year now, and when we were looking at overall, and the impetus for both of us about working in Tulsa is that we really believed that people like opera, they just haven't had entry points into opera. So when we were looking at a season, we were talking about what are some of the things that when we were young were entry points for us into opera. What introduced us? What were the vocal items?
What were those items?
Well, of course, you have to go back to, at least for many of us, Looney Tunes. Tobias grew up in a house that had music all around it, and it's not just what we both realized. It wasn't just classical music we had. I mean, I grew up on country western music, so what we thought was we can put together a regular season, but we also want to put an entry avenue in with artists that are talented enough that can sing opera, sing musical theater, and sing jazz. And when we started working with that, then I turned to Tobias and I said, are there any singers who can do this? And he went to work and looking for casting, and he's found, I have to say, as I said earlier, last night we about blew the house off the roof off the house with these singers. They're beautiful, gorgeous people that also have voices that it's very rare that an opera singer voice can also switch immediately into jazz and then do musical theater, because they're 3 different genres. But I think they did great.
Tobias, we talked about Leona, and I know she has the pipes for sure, but walk us through the lineup. Who else do we have?
We have 4 other singers. We have Allison Cambridge, who's our master of ceremonies, has recorded 2 jazz albums. She's the real thing. She's a jazz singer, but she's also an opera star. She does Butterfly, she does Mimi, she sings all over, and in both roles. As a jazz singer, and she also does musicals. She's done Showboat and other things that are being revived today. She's one of the most glamorous ladies in opera today, or anywhere actually. She's just a stunningly beautiful lady. We have Sarah Joy Miller, who's a wonderful soprano, and who's appearing with her husband, David Miller, who's one of the tenors of Il Divo, which is the world-famous four-tenor group. They're singing. And we have Michael Todd Simpson, who's just, he does musical theater, he does opera. He's just coming to us straight from the Met, where he's just done two roles in the past 2 months.
Very nice.
All of our singers are world-class singers that appear at the major opera houses.
How'd you put this together? I mean, you mentioned Leona. Hey, she's in the state. You had some connections there, but what about the rest of these?
I just invited them.
Okay.
Singers take my calls. I've written 5 operas for the Met, L.A., Dallas, San Francisco. So I'm an opera composer. So
impressive.
We're in the same business.
You mentioned that you've been here about a year. Where'd you come from, Greg?
I was with San Francisco Opera for some time. I was with the Houston Grand Opera. I worked in New York. So I've been producing opera for almost 30 years now. And I have to add that the opera singers that you're going to see on our stage, just playing into what Tobias was talking about, are not your typical. Don't think the opera singer in the horns that you saw in your Bugs Bunny cartoon. These are really, these are stunningly physically fit people.
They're sexy.
As a matter of fact,
they're all very sexy.
Todd Simpson,
including Leona.
Believe it or not, this is kind of in opera. The baritones are always considered the most attractive people, right? So in opera, there's actually a website you can look at it that is barryhunk.com or barryhunk.org. And Michael Todd Simpson, who we have in, is ranked number 4 currently as the number 4 Barry Hunk in the world.
Who knew? Who knew? This is information you only find here. So out of San Francisco, and you, sir, where are you from? What brought you to Tulsa?
From New York. Greg Weber brought me to Tulsa. Okay. We worked together in San Francisco on an opera I wrote on Stephen King's Dolores Claiborne a few years ago, and enjoyed working together. And I couldn't resist the opportunity to get on the producing side of operas other than my own. So we're doing Turandot next season. We're about to do Tosca. We're doing Faust next season. Have I let the cat out of the bag?
You have. You've given them.
Can you cut that?
But that's right.
Breaking news.
It is. You were getting it first out of the box here.
Aren't we announcing this week?
This weekend, yeah. We'll announce
fantastic.
This
Good
weekend. So
stuff.
you guys have the scoop now.
And those who come to the show will learn more, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. How is Tulsa, and perhaps it's a work in progress, in comparison to San Francisco and New York on a opera? You know, you come from the big stage to Tulsa. Is that a challenge? Is that something that you want to build up in the Tulsa area, more performing arts and culture?
Well, Tulsa, San Francisco, and New York both have very old opera companies that have great traditions. Tulsa will be 70 next season, and it's, I think, 13th oldest opera company in America. I think the Met's a little bit older. San Francisco is not much older.
San Francisco's about 92.
92, so it's a little older, but 70 is pretty old for there.
No
Every
kidding.
city in America has at least one opera company, and Tulsa has an opera company that's very distinguished. It brought at one time all the greatest singers in the world here. Pavarotti came here, Sills came here regularly. All the legendary singers came to Tulsa at one time, and we're trying to reestablish that tradition of bringing the great singers here, particularly singers who are on the edge of being discovered, are about to be discovered. We like discovering new singers here. So we brought 2 singers for Pearl Fishers in the fall, who've just been, one of them just won first prize in the George London competition, and the other
prestigious.
one, which is one of the most prestigious worldwide vocal competitions, in the Oklahoman
Lincoln Center Award.
Lincoln Center Award. So we were pretty pleased with those choices.
But I think when you talk about an audience here, and you know, both Tobias and I, we were the East Coast, West Coast people coming in here, and an item that attracted me was when I was coming in and I was interviewing and I was watching the audience, is that I think Oklahomans have a discerning ear for music. I don't think that, and I think the reason that Tulsa Opera is 70 years old is because inside of the DNA of an Oklahoma audience is they grow up with music. Everyone I've talked to says they grow up singing, they grow up playing the piano, you play an instrument.
True.
Because music is such an integral part of their life, they also recognize good music. You can watch the audience members at Tulsa Opera, and when somebody is not really nailing an aria, they're sitting back, right? And as soon as they hear that singer actually sing an aria, I don't care if it's somebody sitting next to me for the first time or if it's an experienced person, all of a sudden you see their whole body move forward. So I really think the success of Tulsa Opera, and one of the reasons that we're here, is because there is a passion for music in this state. There is an understanding, a comprehension of a complexity of music that maybe they don't realize it on the surface, but I think viscerally, I think that Oklahomans really have it as part of their DNA.
You don't have a history and a tradition without the constituency that needs it and wants it, and so we want all of Oklahoma to know about the Tulsa Opera, not just Tulsa, and I think we want to get the word out because we are we the oldest performing arts?
Oldest performing arts group in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys having fun with it?
Yeah.
Good.
We're-
It sounds like you're both very passionate about it. It's the Puccini to Pop at the Tulsa Opera this Saturday, the Tulsa Performing Arts Center at 8 p.m. It's a multimedia thing too, because I think I read in the notes that Lindsay Fry hooked me up with some video playing on the, what all is going on stage?
We have this also is exciting. Not only did Tobias find really these 5 artists that are coming in with Leona Mitchell, with the seasoned the seasoned opera veteran, and the 4 young artists inside of the pit. Jim Lowe is just one of the swingingest conductors. He's on Broadway right now. He's conducting. I think he's Les Mis. He was on the was it the Kiss Me Kate or production. So Jim is he's had a rock band in the past. He's just this really edgy, fun conductor. But out in the house for our design team, we have Couture Sticken, who is a director who does a lot of choreography as well as stage direction. So there's going to be movement inside of the show that will add some excitement. And then Katie Tucker, I think, is one of the most exciting projection designers. Her work is really cutting edge. She just got back from Denmark. She's been working in Europe. She's in demand in New York now. And she's an old friend of ours that we just kind of called up and said we'd love to put together a show. And she has incorporated some, anyone who comes is going to be really wowed by the type of work she does. And our lighting designer is a guy named Gary Martyr, who worked a long time at the Met, works in San Francisco, works internationally, who is adding almost in some fashions a style of rock and roll lighting inside of the production. It's really kind of jazzy, isn't it?
It's very jazzy. It's very sexy, as I said earlier. And we also have the Tulsa Opera Chorus, full chorus, and the Tulsa Youth Opera, which is one of our proudest achievements. The Youth Opera trains young voices and is now 20 years old, I think.
It turns 20 next year.
And there's a young singer who's just graduated from Juilliard who's about to really make it big, who started out in the Tulsa Youth Opera. So we've got them involved in it too. So it's a cast of thousands.
Impressive, right? All right, it's the Tulsa Opera, the Puccini to Pop, yeah, Tulsa Opera. This Saturday, the Tulsa Performing Arts Center. It's at 8 o'clock. More information at tulsaopera.com. Greg, Tobias, great to meet you, gentlemen. Again, thank you for taking the drive from Tulsa to Oklahoma City. Certainly appreciate your time, and I've enjoyed the conversation. Have fun this weekend.
Great. Thanks for being here.